So this time yesterday, Manchester United had of course just drawn 1-1 with Arsenal, and as usual, in the few days after the match I like to think about different things that we learned from the game at the weekend. And to be honest, this weekend I think it's a little bit obvious, it's a little bit easy to learn something. I think Ruben Amorim likes Ayden Heaven. That's not me reading between the lines, because Ruben Amorim literally said that he likes this young man and thinks he could be a real talent. So I thought today we would take a look at Heaven's 2 games in the senior team so far to see what he's been doing that is impressing Amorim so much. So let's go. So far, Ayden Heaven has of course played 2 matches for Manchester United, both coming from the bench. He's had a total of 75 minutes, he's completed 6 clearances in that time, he's won 2 out of his 4 ground duels, 3 out of his 4 aerial duels, and he's completed 10 out of 14 passes. And of course, the position that he's been doing this in is in this left centre-back position. He is left-footed, it makes sense for him to play in this role. Although there were also some thoughts that he could maybe come into the club as a midfielder, right now it looks like he is going to be a centre-back. So what has he done, not in this game against Arsenal, or not exclusively in this game against Arsenal, but also against Fulham? What has he done that's been so impressive? Well, I think one thing for me has been his eagerness to defend on the front foot. This is a United team which at times gets accused of being passive by myself. We do talk about United being too standoffish, the centre-backs not wanting to go and engage early enough, playing a little bit safe. Heaven is a player who very early on has looked confident stepping out of defence and into the forward areas to try and make tackles. Now, perhaps that is because he kind of came through the academy at Arsenal as a midfielder, so he is perhaps naturally more used to engaging in these duels and these battles a little bit higher up the pitch, but it certainly seems to be something that he wants to do. He wants to get on the front foot and defend, and the important thing here is physically he's got the stature to be able to do it, and considering he's so young, playing against actual, proper adults, senior footballers, it's a really good sign that already, to be honest, physically he looks pretty comfortable, he looks pretty happy with the work that he has to do, and to be honest, he's made some of it look fairly easy. You can see it in moments like this. He's on the left-hand side of the defence, and the ball just sort of breaks loose. Now, first of all, we need to look at a mental trait. Heaven just reacts quicker. He just reads to play quicker than what the Fulham forward does, but then also has the athleticism, the acceleration, the pace over the first few yards to get to this ball, and yeah, he's aggressive in the battle when he wins the ball back for Manchester United. This was something that he was also doing in the game against Arsenal. You can see here United being really aggressive in the press, going man-to-man high up the pitch. When you do that, the defenders have to be willing to join you, if not you're just going to leave a big space somewhere. And Heaven was a defender in this game who was willing to do that. Now on this occasion, he doesn't have the benefit of the faster reaction time because of where the ball is, but still he is confident, he wants to step forward. And again, in terms of physically handling himself, he's looked really, really comfortable. Now granted, this wasn't the most physical Arsenal team we've ever seen, particularly in the front line, but Heaven still looked pretty comfortable, and this is what I'm talking about, aggressive defending. Arsenal here, late on in the game, 88 minutes in, trying to counter-attack. Heaven just reads the situation. First of all, he gives himself a little bit of time by sort of jogging backwards initially, and United collectively do a good job of preventing the space in the middle of the pitch. So realistically, the only area the Arsenal forward can attack in is down the line, and Heaven knows that. So Heaven sort of shows him down the line, and then the second he gets there, he goes in with the big tackle. So I think this is one of the reasons why Amorim likes him already, because physically he's competing really well, which we've been missing, but also from a psychological point of view, his reading of the game has been pretty good. Now that is also the sort of theme that I want to continue with as we move into the next stage of this video, talking about the psychological reading of the game, maturity and a calm to the way that Ayden Heaven is playing. Often when we talk about young, athletic, physical defenders, we almost solely focus on that. We focus on their pace and covering ground, and of course Heaven has been able to do that. There's been moments of pretty good acceleration down the left-hand side. He's got quite long legs and that allows him to eat up the ground on this side of defence. But what I've been impressed with has been his reading in the middle of the box. Now, of course, he is helped by the fact that United, in moments in these 2 matches, have been quite passive, quite defensive. We've had lots of bodies around the young man, which is understandable, to be fair. But he's been dealing and reading situations in the box really well, and so many times in the last 2 matches, there has been a ball into the box and Heaven has been the first contact, and I think that's really important. So we're talking about dealing with crosses into the box, but even players actually dribbling with him, or at him I should say, Heaven has been someone who physically is having the first contact in most of these situations. So here in the box the ball is being cut across. Just every time Heaven seems to be there, and this is where those long legs come in really handy because he can sort of reach to get the ball ahead of the striker. But it's been so many times where the ball's coming into the box, and every time Heaven is just there. And I think one thing he's done particularly well is sorted his feet out well. So when these balls have come into the box, sometimes you'll see a defender a little bit flat-footed, and they sort of scuff the clearance and it'll slice and they'll loop it up in the air or something. Heaven's actually been adjusting his feet quite well, clearing the ball with his left and his right. He's been good. Also moments like this, when it's more of a race to the ball, using his body, being physical, just gives that Fulham player a little bit of a bump. Physical contact from a centre-back to a centre-forward is really, really important. You've got to let the striker know that you're there. You've got to be physical with him. Don't give him any time. And on this occasion, he just bumps him to the floor, makes it look nice and easy. No threat in the Manchester United box. But of course, also in the Arsenal game. Ball into the box here. First contact, Ayden Heaven. Another ball into the box here. First contact, Ayden Heaven. This time at the near post. He is just reading these situations really, really well. Now, of course, like I've already said, this is in a United team that is playing fairly deep. We are getting lots of bodies around him. We are protecting him. It's quite difficult to judge a young centre-back when he's got a left wing-back to his left. He's got another centre-back with him. In fact, two other centre-backs with him. He's got a central midfielder who's playing quite close in front. We can't take too much from Heaven's performances in the box in this sense because he's got support around him. But I think we can still look at his positioning. He's reading the play well. He's getting into the right position to protect the near post with the ball across. But also, if the ball's coming in the air, he's winning the aerial duel. Physically, we've seen him competing. I think all in all, you can only really gauge him on what we've seen. And from what we've seen, I think he's done really well. I think this calmness is also something that has shone through in his performances on the ball as well. Now, of course, again, United have not been dominant in the past two games. We've not been a team which really controls the ball and tries to break a defence down. So the sample size with Heaven on the ball is a little bit small, but I think we've seen moments where he looks quite calm, quite composed with the ball at his feet. He's not panicking. Even when he's going into a 50-50 tackle and then coming out of that situation with the ball, there's still a calm about the way that he's doing things. It's easy, you know, because for a 50-50, you have got to be a little bit hot-headed as you go into that tackle. And, you know, the adrenaline rush as you're going into these challenges. When the ball then breaks, it is easy to make erratic decisions, be loose on the ball. But I don't think that has been the case for Ayden Heaven. I think he's been quite calm, quite composed, quite confident. I'm looking forward to seeing a game, hopefully someday, where Ayden Heaven is in the team and we actually dominate the ball to see perhaps more of his ball progression skills. Again, in the academy at Arsenal, he was a midfielder. So he is someone who, in theory, should be able to progress the ball for us quite well from the back three. We haven't seen it yet, too much at United, but hopefully we see it soon. But what we have seen, again, is a calm. In situations like this, 50-50 loose ball, breaks to him in the middle of the park, and he's just confident. He just sort of steps across, uses his body, blocks the Fulham player from getting the ball, and then turns away. There's nothing rushed about it. He just moves backwards and then passes the ball on to someone else. Again, in a moment like this time stepping forward with the ball is at his feet. This is what I want to see more of. We just haven't actually created the game state for this just yet with Heaven in the team. But this is what I want to see. Stepping forward out of the defence, using that progressive left foot to move the ball through the lines. Because I think he can do this. We just actually need to kind of give him the platform to do it more regularly. Because so far it has been sort of moments of dealing with pressure. Here in his own penalty area as the ball is played across to him. It would have been easy to panic here because he's got a forward closing him down. United were in an interesting moment at this time in the game. But again, it's just calm. It's really straightforward. This pass is, of course, incredibly easy. But I think, for me, it's just it's just a relaxed manner with what he does. He just moves the ball quite comfortably. It's all really easy for him. It's all really, really comfortable for him. And then, of course, again, in the Arsenal game. Here, it is a loose ball. It is a 50-50. Bruno Fernandes has just gone into the tackle. And Ayden Heaven, he comes into the challenge and does this. He does that. And again, it's not world class, it's not elite, we don't need to get too excited about it, but it just shows a confidence in his own ability. And again, what I like about this is that once he's done that bit of work with the ball, that bit of fancy footwork, he doesn't get ahead of himself. He then actually takes 2 or 3 touches later just to slow it right down. It would have been easy to then drive forward and lose the ball carelessly or fire an audacious pass through the lines, but he didn't do that. He was calm, composed, he keeps the ball for his team. This might seem like a slightly brief video, but, you know, he's only played 75 minutes. There isn't too much to talk about. He hasn't had too many touches of the ball. But I think from what we've seen, I can understand why Amorim likes the glimpses so far. Because I think physically we've seen a very capable player. I think psychologically, in terms of his mental traits, we've seen quite a composed young man who looks calm under pressure, which Amorim also pointed out. But also technically, someone who can read the play, but also on the ball, get the ball down, play under pressure, and move the ball forward. I think that's why Amorim likes him so much. Of course, in terms of his development, we're going to learn a lot more in the next 6 months than we have in the last 2 games. Perhaps in pre-season in particular, we might really see him getting some game time, and that's when we'll know a little bit more about him as a player for Manchester United. But so far, I've been impressed. It seems like Amorim has been impressed, and that is the perfect start for Ayden Heaven. So long may it continue. Hopefully his development goes well over the next few years. But for now, that's all we've really got to talk about. So I guess thank you guys for watching. Hope you have enjoyed this video. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.